The Glyn Memorial Stages plays host to a number of championships, including the Junior 1000 Rally Championship, and this weekend it's 2 days of rallying to get through for the crews. In the juniors, it will be a great start to the event for James Williams and Unum Pyler. They managed the fastest time on the morning stages, but sadly for the pair, it will be game over on stage 7 when the shaft breaks on the car. So that means it's a late step up to the lead for Will Crichton and Neil Coleman. The pair had been close with the times all day, so their move up into that place may have been by default, but certainly wasn't without a good effort so far. And the times were close, with Alex Vassallo and Michael Gilby ending the first day in second place, just a single second behind the leaders and ready for an attack on day 2. The times would actually put the leading two crews in 24th and 25th in the senior rally. Seb Perez and Carl Williamson make a good start to the event. Seb not always having a lot of luck this season, but this weekend things were going well so far, at least for day 1, 3rd overall and 33 seconds behind Vassallo. And it would all be close right through the results in the juniors, as Dylan O'Donnell and Alistair Dodd ended the day just 6 seconds behind Perez, even managing a second fastest time on stage 7. The times for Will Butler and Tom Wood on day 1 were a little up and down. 4th fastest on stage 1 will be followed by 15th on the second stage, but by the end of the day the pair had managed to find a rhythm and settle into 6th and 7th fastest times, just holding on to 5th overall on the results. Charlie Barlow and Tom Hutchings get off to a good steady start in the Micra. A tyre change midway through the day turned out to be a bit of a mistake though, losing the pair a little of their grip, but it didn't affect things too much, with 6th overall at the end of the first day. There would be just 9 seconds separating Barlow from a chasing Peter Bennett and Arthur Kierans. The pair going well, but seeming to lose a few seconds over the final stages in the gradually fading light. Zach Hughes and Chris Evans slowly climbed their way up the stage times, starting the day off in an average 15th overall and reaching as high as 6th by the end of the day. Just as it was in the rest of the results, Michael Robertson and Phil Sandham reached the end of day 1 with just a small 3-second gap to Hughes ahead in 9th. A small and very manageable gap then for day 2. And it would be even closer for Matthew Davies and Ian Taylor. As close as you can get, in fact, as the pair round out the top 10 on an identical time to Robertson. So the results at the end of day 1 of the junior rally look like this. On to the seniors now, and it will be an early lead for Mark Jones and Christopher Brealey. The pair open up a small but comfortable lead, as long as they don't make any mistakes. Will Owen and Rob Hopewell would be the ones pushing Jones the hardest by the end of the opening day. The gap to the leaders just 25 seconds, so they would still have some work to do though in the morning. Julian Jones and Mikey Herritz were putting in some good times. The pair end the first day in 3rd place, 16 seconds behind Owen, but with a good class advantage in Class C. Roger Moran and Chris Ridge were enjoying throwing the escort around the stages, and the times were good too, 4th overall for the pair and lying 3rd in Class D. Chris Simmons and Andy Moss would be the closest rivals for Julian Jones in Class C, the pair lying 17 seconds back, 2nd in the class and 5th overall. Ellis Belton and Padraig Foran lie 3rd in Class C at this stage, out in a new car and still getting used to it, but things are going well so far. They lie in 6th overall. Neil Arden and Giles Corbett take up 7th place at the end of day 1, the pair lying 4th in Class D, but still with some time to make up to the crews ahead. Richard Davies and Gareth Wilcox make a good start to lead the way in Class B at the end of the day. Only 4 seconds back from Arden in the overall battle too, as they lie in 8th. John and Tara Hardman reach the end of day 1 with the lead in Class A and 9th overall. But they will be lucky to get that far after causing some damage to the car with this landing over the small jump. Luckily it looked worse than it was and everything could be fixed to complete the day's rallying. And rounding out the top 10 overall were Brandon Smith and Terry Martin, the pair holding 5th in the Class D at this stage too. Some of the classes outside the top 10 then, and it will be 12th overall for Dylan Thomas and Sean Cunniff as the pair take up 2nd in Class B behind Richard Davies. Jeff McQuilling and Stephen Landon lie a few places back overall on the results, taking 3rd in the class, just a minute behind Thomas. Jason Hodge and Arwell Cullen have a good lead at the end of day 1 in Class E. The Salika pair having fun despite the tricky conditions. And bringing the old car out for a run before switching to a new one was Stephen Brown and Paul Stringer, still proving their speed as they ended a second in Class A. And for Ben Bloor and Alistair Hughes, it will be third in the class, a few places overall behind Brown's Micra. Efren Thomas and David Parry end day 1 second in Class E, 2 minutes behind the Salika of Jason Hodge up ahead. It will be close in the Class F battle with Sam Billum and Gareth Hooper taking the lead in that class at the end of day 1. 49 seconds further back in the class were Robert Kennedy and Merv Williams. The class lead wasn't out of reach, but there would be a lot to do on day 2. And rounding out Class F were Gettin and Guto Parry, third in the class but lying a few minutes back from second. So day 1 complete for all crews. The top of the results look like this. On to the juniors then, and unfortunately we lose Tommy Meadows and Ian Oakey. The pair hadn't had the best of starts, but the final straw came when the car failed to start and the pair were unable to complete the final stages. And they wouldn't be the only ones, as we also lose Harry Williams and Dylan John. The pair retire on stage 14 when they break a shaft on the Citroen C1. And we'd also lose Michael Robertson and Phil Sandham from their day 1 9th place when they break a shaft on stage 10. On to the top 10 finishers then, and it would be 10th place for Finlay Retson and Fraser Jones, gaining a couple from their 12th place at the end of day 1. Ed Fossey and Sean Humphreys have an even better day 2, managing to climb the results from 9th through from 14th. The stage times improving as well as the event went on for the pair. There wouldn't be any change for Zach Hughes and Chris Evans as they end the event in 8th place, just as they'd finished day 1. Steady and consistent times helping them with that result as they stayed within a good pace of the cars ahead. No change either on day 2 for Peter Bennett and Arthur Kieran. The pair maintained that 7th place they held earlier in the event, finishing 17 seconds ahead of Hughes. Charlie Barlow and Tom Hutchings were on a mission to catch a few places on day 2, and things were getting close. Just a handful of seconds needed on the final stage of the day, but sadly the car jumped out of gear on the start line and their efforts were lost. Still, 6th place was a great result, just 1 second off claiming 5th. And in that 5th place were Seb Perez and Carl Williamson. Unfortunately for the pair, they slipped down the results on day 2 from their 3rd place. Times on the stages were not quite where they needed to be, and they just managed to keep Barlow at bay this time out. This of course means good news for Will Butler and Tom Wood as they take advantage of the drop down the results for Perez and themselves move up into 4th, even managing a couple of fastest stage times towards the end of the rally. Dylan O'Donnell and Alistair Dodd would be another pair to take advantage of Perez's slip down the results. They moved their way up a place into 3rd, taking that final step on the podium this weekend with a steady and consistent run all weekend. Sadly for Will Crichton and Neil Coleman, there would be a change on day 2, and a major change as far as they were concerned. Their day 1 lead now gone and the pair forced to take 2nd place. A good fight all weekend though, and some great stage times meant that it was a very well-deserved result. But that means that Alex Vassallo and Michael Gilby managed to gain that final place on day 2 and take the victory this weekend. A great finish for the pair with an advantage of 19 seconds at the end of the rally. On to the final results in the seniors then, and we would unfortunately lose Stephen Brown and Paul Stringer on day 2. The pair retiring the Micra, and the last time we'll see that car as well on stage 12. And they wouldn't be the only ones. We lose Brandon Smith and Terry Martin when the clutch fails on the Darien. So for those that finished, it will be 26th overall for Gethin and Guto Parry. They finished third in Class F as well. Class F almost ended a little differently. Robert Kennedy and Merv Williams ending the rally second in the class, but not after briefly dropping to third. A wrong split on an unlucky stage 13 sent the pair back to third, but luckily they do manage to get the place back before the end of the rally. But for Sam Billum and Gareth Hooper, it will be the Class F win. The lead had been theirs all weekend, and this victory well deserved. Efren Thomas and David Parry have a good run on day 2 and end the event with second in Class E as well as 20th on the leaderboard. The loss of Stephen Brown in Class A means that Ben Blur and Alistair Hughes are able to step up and take second in that class at the finish. Some way off the class leaders, but a good finish nonetheless for the pair. Jason Hodge and Arwell Cullen get to the end of the rally with the Class E lead to take the victory. A good overall result of 16th was theirs as well. Finishing just outside the top 10 overall in 12th were Jeff McQuilling and Stephen Landon. Third in Class B for the pair this weekend. On to the top 10 then, and rounding out the results at the top were Alwyn Haycock and Lucy Samuel. Third in Class C and 10th overall for the Nova pair. Dylan Thomas and Sean Cunniff finished the event with second in Class B. A good result for the pair as they finish in 9th overall. Day 1 problems behind them, it will be a great 8th place finish for John and Tara Hardman in the Micra as they get to the finish in the lead of Class A to take victory. Will Owen and Rob Hopewell unfortunately take a wrong split on day 2, dropping them down the results. They do manage though to salvage 7th overall at the end of the rally, and 3rd in class as well. Disappointing, but some good pace from the pair this weekend. All the changes in the results mean that Robert Hughes and Kevin Butler are able to gain a few places, moving inside the top 10 overall and up to 6th. Richard Davies and Gareth Wilcox gain a few places too. They step up to 5th overall and take the Class B win this weekend. Neil Arden and Giles Corbett have a good weekend. Some good times moved them up to 4th overall by the end of the rally, as well as taking the trophy for 2nd in Class D. The drop down the results for Will Owen means that it's the final step on the podium for Roger Moran and Chris Ridge, the pair walking away with 3rd, as well as taking the Class D winners' trophy. For Julian Jones and Mikey Herritz, it will be 2nd, the pair putting in some good times and keep up with the pace at the front. The gap at the end was almost a minute, but that was after 2 days of rallying. So for Mark Jones and Christopher Brearley, it would be the victory. A trouble-free weekend for the pair, which was good, as they were due to travel to the Isle of Man the following weekend for the Poker Stars rally. So at the end of the event, the results looked like this. We've still got more junior championship action to come on the show this evening, but next up, it's off to Sherwood Forest for the Premier Rally.